So, as promised, we are going through this pattern. So, the pattern starts with a long freaking chain, and since it's from Britain, oh my goodness, I had to literally translate this pattern because you know how in English we call a double crochet a double freaking crochet, and then the abbreviation is just DC? No, in a British pattern, they call it a half double treble. What the crap is that? So, me and my American behind, we had to sit here and try to translate. So, basically, all you have to do in the beginning, you do a long chain, and from that chain, you do they call it a half double. They call it a half treble. But for the sake of my sanity and for the sake of my American peoples, we're going to try and do this interchangeably. So basically what we're going to do is a half double crochet. So that's what we did all the way down, all the way through, half double crochet or a half double treble is what they want to call it. So that's what you see me doing here. And then to do the strawberries was actually fun because, again, it is a treble, right? So, you know, a double crochet, throw that out the window because it's not a double crochet in UK terminology. It is a treble stitch. So we did 5 treble stitches or 5 double crochets into one stitch to get that little strawberry shape. Now, the reason why I look a little confused is because this pattern requires you to keep going back and forth, back and forth. So where you see me crocheting, I'm actually on the wrong side. So it's going to be a little weird because you're going to have to keep going back and forth from the wrong side of the piece to the right side of the piece. So I'm looking at it and I'm trying to figure out how the yarn is going to hang out. Because in my brain, I'm thinking where I'm working is the right side. Actually, it's not. So I'm on the wrong side. The wrong side is facing me. And basically with this pattern, you're going to want to float your yarn. So for people that do like tapestry crochet pieces, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because when you're doing a tapestry, you're not just changing the color and then fastening off or just changing the color as that. You're usually keeping your yarn attached to your piece so that when you go to change colors, you're not having to reattach it again and having to constantly attach the color change back to your piece. So you're going to want to float the yarn. So because I'm on the wrong side, basically what you would do is you would keep the yarn that you're not working with on the wrong side of the piece, so it floats behind. Obviously, while I'm here, I did not really get that concept. So basically what's going on here is I'm trying to tuck the yarn, which is a method that you can use. You can tuck the tail if that's what you want to do. But honestly, just floating the yarn makes it so much easier. So what you see me doing here, I'm putting the non-working yarn. So right now I'm using the white. So with the non-working yarn, I'm putting that on top of my piece to kind of tuck it in. But if you want to make your life easier and you don't want to do things the way I'm doing it, definitely try to float your yarn. So how do we explain it to where it makes sense? So basically when you're floating your yarn, you're going to just let it hang. So obviously your first couple stitches, you're going to kind of tuck it in on the wrong side, but you're going to just let it drop. You're going to let it drop. There are going to be a couple loops at the back of on the wrong side of your piece. But it doesn't matter because that piece is going to be, especially if you're working in a tapestry, and especially if you're working in a piece like this where it's going to be a pouch, that piece is going to be on the inside of your pouch, so where no one's going to see it. So we don't really care about the draping pieces of yarn as long as it remains, your floated yarn remains on the wrong side of the yarn. Now you start flipping it over and started doing other stuff, then that's where you're gonna have issues. But if you're just floating it, you should not have a problem. So now what I'm doing here is I'm actually making the green piece, I guess the stem, I guess that's what it's called. This is a strawberry, this is supposed to be a strawberry pouch. And basically we're making the tips of the strawberries. So this one is a little tricky because basically what you're doing here, I wouldn't even know how to classify it in, American or US terminology. Basically what I was doing is I was kind of yarning over and then inserting my yarn into the double crochets that we did prior to this row. And basically, I'm yarning over, inserting my hook, and then yarn over again, and then pulling it through all 2 loops. Yarn over, yarn over, yarn over. So basically, that's what you see me doing here, and I'm pulling my white piece of yarn all the way through all of those loops on my hook. So it's going to be weird. Usually when I do this kind of method, it's really difficult for me to pull the yarn with the yarn attached on the hook all the way through my loops. So sometimes I'm taking breaks. I'm trying, well, not taking breaks necessarily, but I'm kind of going like 3-3, 3-3, 3-3. But essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm getting that white yarn from all the way at the end of the piece, all the way back through all my loops. So it's going to create that little greenery on the top of your strawberries. So that's what we're doing here. And when you are done, when I'm done, you can actually see my finished product and what it looks like. I'm having a bit of trouble here, but basically you want to get your white piece all the way over. What's happening here is that I kind of got my yarn stuck, but I think with this one, now I'm on the right side. So you're going to be able to see what I'm talking about a little bit better as far as floating the yarn. So as you can see there, I'm in the strawberries. And finally, you can look at the back because now I'm working on the right side. So if you look at the back of my piece, you can see that I kind of sort of floated my yarn. So you see that the yarn is kind of looped on the back of, well, on the wrong side of my piece. So all I'm doing, just how I did on the row prior, did a couple double crochets all the way over, or a half double crochet all the way over until I got back to my strawberries. So on my strawberries is where I'm going to put the greenery. Oh, excuse me. So I'm going to do my half double trebles or my half double crochets all the way back over to my pink pieces, and there you have it. I'm going to try and see if I can tuck in that one strayed piece, but basically that's what I have. I thought it was going to be a lot more difficult, but that's what we have for right now.